Hello scrapping friends, I'm Deborah Kozlovic and I'm a Creative Memories Independent Advisor from Australia. How's everybody doing today? Today I want to show you a series that I'm going to be doing of Christmas cards and Christmas page layouts that you can all scrap along with me or scrap at a later date. The first video that I want to show you is some Christmas cards that I've made and I want to share them all with you. This one here, and it's got the poinsettia edge. We've got Santa's coat, a different design for a Christmas tree, and the 4 triangle layout. So they are in today's video that I'm going to be showing you, and also the one following that is a Christmas page layout that I did using the poinsettia edge and with the fold over corners. So I'll give you a little sneak peek of that one also. So this is the one that I will be showing you. So the one that I want to show you, the one that I am doing on the video, I've already inserted in the pocket page, and I've also done a 4x4 pocket to add an extra photo, and I've just put a 4x6 photo on that one. And on the other one that I did is 4x4 photos. So I hope that you all enjoy my videos that I'm about to do and show you, and look out for all my Christmas designs. So happy scrapping everybody. Please like and subscribe to my channel. That'd be great. Give me some love. Any comments, I'll be happy to answer them. The Christmas cards that I will be showing you today, the products that I will be using is the new Seasonal Sighting Christmas designer paper, the stickers, and some of the embellishments. But if you don't have this year's Christmas collection, you can use previous Christmas collections to complete any of these card ideas. And on one of the other ones, I will also be using the shimmer. Very simple, very easy. The first one that I will show you is using the poinsettia edge. There might be another little design punch or border cartridge that you might want to use. It's going to work exactly the same. So it doesn't really matter which one that you do use, but today we will be using the poinsettia edge. I brought the Creative Memories blank card kit. They are easy to use. You can also, you know, cut your own card and then score it down the middle. So the measurements for these cards are, they'll give you a quick measurement on these cards. So it's 8.5 long by 5.5 wide. So you have 8.5 by 5, and then it's just scored straight down the middle. So to start off with, to make this card, I'm just going to get my 12-inch trimmer, and I'm going to cut 1 inch off the front of that card. And then I'm going to bring in my border maker cartridge and loading that edge that I cut off in the border maker system, and set a cartridge, and I'm going to punch that edge. So now I've punched that poinsettia edge. Just going to remove that out of the way. So as you can see, we've got that nice edging there. So now I'm going to get a piece of designer paper. So I know that from this edge to there is 5.5. So bringing back in my trimmer, and I'm going to cut my length of paper that I've picked out at 5.5. So then it's a matter of putting it behind your card so it's covered up that punch edge. So So I think the width of this one is 2.5. So I'm going to leave that at 2.5. So I'm just going to get my repositional tape, putting a little bit of repositional on the back of the poinsettia edge, lining up my designer paper on the edge of the base of my card. So just lining it up, making sure that, you know, the ends are fine, top and bottom all match. And then I'm just going to flip that over and then push it down. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a nice little edging. So also cover up that edging on the back. So with that, I've just got a green strip, 1/2 inch. So just lining it up. So now I want two Now I want two 5.5 strips. So I want one for the front and one for the back. And then again, I'm just going to use some repositional tape, opening my card and just centering that in the middle from top to bottom. It's a little bit longer, so I'm just going to trim that off. And then I'll do exactly the same thing on the front. So I think I might still go with the green because it breaks up the red. So I'm just going to go from this edge to here, which is 1 3/4. Might make it 1.5. So from the folded edge to there to where we're going to put this 1/2 inch strip is 1.5. Then again, it's just a tad little bit big, so I will trim that off. So there's our base of the front of our card. So the next step that I did is I got some of the little gems that were also in with our embellishments, and I put the gems on to make it look Christmassy. So I'm just going to put them on randomly. I didn't actually or particularly put them in a certain order. So then with this title, I'm going to be using Happy Holidays. And then I've got the cardinal bird, which I'll also use. So with one of these gems, I'm going to have to remove. So we've got Happy Holidays. And then the cardinal bird. So I might move that over. It's a little bit bigger title than the one that I used on my previous one. So I'm just going to put some repositional tape on here, lining it up, and then I'm going to use some foam squares to raise the cardinal bird. So I'm just going to put my little cardinal bird around about there. Just get my just lining that up. It just looked a little bit crooked. Here's the red and the green, the smaller ones, and put them off the side. So there we have one Christmas card with the same technique. So now we'll go on to card number 2. So card number 2, we're just going to make a simple card, and that's just with Santa. So again, using one of the blank cards, and I've used this in the shimmer cardstock. So I've got a black strip which measures 1/2 inch wide, and I also use the copper shimmer, and I just done like a cube. I think it was 3 1/4 by 3 1/4, and I just cut the middle out to make a belt. So going on to my next pieces, just bringing in my centering ruler and just going by the card size. So with that card size, from here to here is 5 1/2. So I'm actually having my card opening long ways. Get that open. So I'm having that long ways. So with my first piece, which is this piece here on his top, it measures 3 1/2, and then I have a gap in between, and my next piece, I think this is 1 inch, measures the 1 inch. So then you have a gap in the middle for his white fluff on his jacket. So I'm going to put repositional tape on the back. So sorry, I should tell you that this first one I put on is 3 1/2 by 4. So that one is 3 1/2 by 4, and this one is 1 inch by 4 inches. So now I'm just going to put the other red bit on the opposite side, also lining it up so it looks centered and matching his coat on the opposite side. So I might have to take that up a little bit. So there we have the start of his coat. I didn't actually really measure that white bit in between, but it does measure right on 7/8. So the next step is his belt, which goes straight across from this point to here. So as I said, it's 1/2 inch wide. So then we need to cut that down to, always measure to make sure, because it all depends on how far you take yours. So I'm taking it down to 5 1/4. So I've got 5 1/4. So I need to go 1 dash over. So I'm just taking it a little bit over. It's not quite on the measurements on my trimmer. So I'm just going to, and that lines up perfectly. So now just add some repositional tape on the belt, and then using my centering ruler again. So I'm going to take that one up 1 1/4 from the bottom, placing the belt on, just lining it up, and then with that little cube that I made the buckle from. The buckle is so easily to make. So just to give you a little demo on this one here. So that's just going to be 1 by 1 cube, but I did 3 1/4 cube. Little micro tip scissors, and all I did was cut the middle. There was no measurements really in how I made the buckle, and all I did was just, you know, cutting around and cutting the middle out just to get that buckle. So it's just a matter of just lining it up, cutting the edges, and making a cube. So measuring it at 3 1/4 by 3 1/4, and then just cutting out your middle to make that buckle look. So that's very simple of doing the buckle. So the next step I did with the buttons, I used the piece by piece punch, and I've used that large circle. So I've got 3 circles here. Precision glue. So I'm just going to put 3 dots for the 3 buttons going down. black buttons on the glue. So just placing them on. So there's no particular measurements. And there you have number 2. So very simple little Christmas cards that you can complete yourself. So now we'll go to number 3. So now we're going to make our 3rd Christmas card, and it's like a tree effect on the card. Very easy to make, and to make this card you would need your blank card, a scrap piece of designer paper that would measure no bigger than your card, some cardstock, and I've also pulled out some off scraps from the greens from the Seasonal Sightings Collection that I'll use to make my Christmas tree. So I'm just using just random pieces, random colors. There's no particular order of these colors that I will be using. So to start off with, so as we know, with our card, a basic card, it is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So now we want to make our base card a little bit smaller than our card. So I might do today, I might do it 4 by 5 1/4. So I'm just going to bring in the trimmer. So the first cut I will be doing is 4 inches by 5 1/4, because it was 5 1/2. And that will sit as my base. So we can adhere that down. So using some repositional. Just move it slightly, and I seem to move it just completely. Okay, I'm happy with that. So I know that I've just cut with the crimson, I think it is. So I've done a 4 by 5 1/4. So now I want to make that smaller again. So this one, so that's 5, and then I want to make it 3 1/4. So we've got 5 and 3 1/4, and that should just sit centered. So I'm just going to use some repositional, place that down on my card, just centering it. I'm happy with that. So going back to our card, now what I've done was I've cut some random strips, any length, any width, anywhere from 1/4, 3/4, yeah, maybe 3/4, might be a little bit wide, but 1/4 and 1/2 inch. I'm going to do 1/2 inch and 1/4 inch. As I said, with width-wise, it doesn't matter, but this one here that I'm using at the moment is 3 1/4. So I'm going to use a bit of this. So I'm going to make this one half an inch wide. Just hoping it just doesn't move on it. It's the most smallest piece. I know that my base of my card is 3 3/4, so you don't want a piece of designer strip that is longer than that. So I'm going to make this one at 3 1/2. So probably no longer than 3 1/2, because you want the tree to go up as our Christmas trees do. So I'm just going to randomly cut this one in different lengths, so we can get the top of our peak from our tree. So at this stage, all we want to do is trim some green strips, any length, so we can make our tree. And as we go along, we can trim that trim the ends if we need to. And this one has got two different greens on it, so I'm just going to turn this one over now and use that. So I'll work on what I have at the moment, and if I need more, I can cut more. The trunk of my tree, I've used the copper, and I've done that at 1 inch wide by 1.5. So just trim that off. This is a little bit bigger, so I think I need to trim that a little bit more to make it probably 1.25. So I'm going to bring it in my card. I've got all my little strips trimmed. A little bit of repositional. So the trunk of my tree. So it's a matter of just building up and crossing over and making those strips a little bit different, so they're not all going the same, you know, the same way. Or so instead of putting them straight, we're just putting them on angles and we're just overlapping them. So using your longer strips for the bottom, and then as you work up, you want to make it smaller. So it's a matter of finding your pieces, which strips that you would like to use, and just keep building your tree up until we come to that point where the top and where the star sits. So I'm going to continue to build up my tree. So as you can see, my tree's up to the top, nearly up to the top of the page. So I might just go one more, use a thin green strip. So now my next step is to make my star. Now I'm using the double star punch. This double star punch came in one of our secret boxes. I'm not sure if it was last year or the year before. So I'm just going to punch my star, and when it says double star punch, you have two stars. So you have the open star and you have the full star. So I'm just going to put some repositional tape on the back of my star, placing my star, and then with foam squares, bring in my foam squares, and I'm going to put them on the back of the star, and that will give that star a little bit of dimension. So then I'm just going to put it opposite to the joins to make that open look on the star. So there's a different idea for a Christmas tree. The other thing that you could do to make this tree also look a little bit different, if you go back to your embellishments, to your gems, and if you like, you could just put, you know, some random gems on the tree as Christmas lights, and that will also make it look a little bit different. So that's another different idea that you could do with your Christmas tree. And also on your stickers or your embellishments, you've got some wording, and you might want to, you know, add one of these as a title, like you've got this one here, Our Tree. So you might want to put it down the bottom, or you might want to put love. I think there was also a sticker, if I look at the new one, There's also Oh Christmas Tree. You've got Holiday Memories, Fa La 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 La, Peace on Earth, Love, Peace and Joy, Believe, Tradition. So I mean, you can use any of those titles in the stickers or in the embellishments to complete your Christmas card with the tree idea. For the last Christmas idea card that I would like to share with you today, I haven't made this one yet, so we can make it from scratch together. And you will need a piece of designer paper, some cardstock, and one of your blank cards. So to start off with our base of our card, we're going to make a backing for the card. So as I said before, we know that our card is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So we want to make that backing of that card 4 inches by 5 1/4. And then we're going to adhere that onto the base of our card for our backing. So now that we have it on the base of our card, we're going to be using this one, and we're going to open the card this way, not long ways. So our next step is that I know that I've just made that base 4 by 5 1/4. So now I want to make it 5 by 3 3/4. So that's 5 by 3 3/4. And that should fit on your card as so. So our next step after this process is getting our piece that we just cut, and we want to line it up from on your cutting mat. So we want to cut it from here to here. So after you cut that from point to point, I don't want you to move it until our next step. So it's cutting from point to point. Now holding that into place like that, and then we're going to spin it around. So we just cut from point to point. Now we've just spinned it around, and we're going to cut from this point to that point. But you want your designer paper to match up as it's one sheet, and lining from point to point from the opposite direction, making sure that it's lined up, everything matches. And then I want you to trim again. So then that will make, you've got 4 cut bits. So I'm just going to take them off as I've cut them onto my card. So these are the pieces after we've trimmed. So we're wanting our card to be like so. So the next thing that we can do is having, with our designer paper, because it's double-sided, we can have 2 going one way, 1 design going the other way. So now I'm going to adhere that down on my base card. So just having a gap in between so it all matches up. And now my corner bits. So as you can see, the way that we've cut this, our triangles are different in size. And also when you're laying this out, it's also depending on how much gap you want to have in the middle, in between each join. So I've got bigger gaps in between the joins. So you might want to have a more of an edging than the insides. So there's the base of our card, of that different technique of cutting that base paper to make our triangles different, so they're not evenly and they're not the same. So I'm going to bring in my embellishment collection here. So I'm just going to go through my embellishments, and I want an embellishment that will sit straight in the middle. Good tidings of comfort and joys. I think I might use that one. So I'm just going to get my larger foam squares, and with these I always cut them in half. And just sitting on the end. So now just put them in the middle of my card, just in the middle, just lining it up. So I've got the same width on either side. And then the only other thing that you probably need to do on the card, you've got the, you've got your little title, a little bit of holly on the sides, on the top. So I might do that, having it out on this side. And then with my gems again, I'm just going to use the brightest red and put it on the corner of your Christmas cards that you'll be able to make personally by you. So we have the triangle one, we have the Christmas tree, we also have Santa's coat, and the poinsettia edge. Well, I hope you liked my little Christmas card collection that I have created today. Please feel free to comment, and I can get back to you with any measurements that you might be stuck on. Please like and subscribe to my channel. Until next time, happy scrapping.